Hi, I'm Sherry Gilbert-Ramsey.
And I'm Dr. Nicole Brown.
And welcome to the Year of She podcast. The Year of She stands for self-reflection, healing, and embracing transformation.
The Year of She podcast was birthed because we had an idea of coming up with a cohort for women and having them journal their thoughts. We know that self-care is very important, and we wanted to have women come and embrace that and learn from each other. But then we saw a video and women had a lot of comments about being able to share their thoughts and talk about it. And so we decided to take that from journaling to actually being able to speak our mind as a group.
My name is Sherry Gilbert-Ramsey. I am a United States Army veteran, licensed psychotherapist, and law enforcement officer.
I'm Dr. Nicole Brown, educator and personal brand strategist.
Hello, I'm Tanya Howard. I'm an educator, entrepreneur, and certified substance abuse counselor.
Hi, my name is Erica Camp. I'm a veteran educator and a literacy specialist.
Hi, my name is Shanika Battle. I'm a mother of 3 adult kids, grandmother of 4 toddlers, and I am the administrative assistant to a chief of police here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm also an entrepreneur.
Hi, my name is Candy Parker. I'm a body therapist at School Bodies Candy Talk Shop in Jonesboro, Georgia, and also a mentor and founder of Sassy Moms Mentor Other Women Successfully.
So welcome to our first cohort. We will be talking with these set of women for 6 weeks, and we will be covering various topics as it relates to women issues. And our first topic is I'm Not Your Superwoman. So as it relates to I'm Not Your Superwoman, what do you ladies think?
Well, for me personally, I think that's something foreign for me to not think that I'm not somebody's superwoman, especially with the people who I'm connected to right now. My life, right now, my life is pulling me in a direction in which I never thought I would be. I'm about to embark on having my father move in with me. So it's like, right now, I am Superwoman. So, that is really, like I said, right now, something that is foreign to me. My kids are grown, they're, in college and they're living their best life. But I'm still that person that they lean on and they call and, I have to be there for them. So I can't say that right now at that point in my life, that I'm not their Superwoman, because right now in this role, I am their Superwoman.
Yeah. As it relates to me, 2 matriarchs in my family have passed on. And so it's kind of like indoctrinated in me to look out and be a source of strength for family members. So I can really say that the I'm Your Superwoman title really does resonate with me.
Yes, and it resonates with me as well. My mother, as an only child, my mother's only child, I was her caregiver when she passed from stage 4 cancer. And I'm also the oldest of all my siblings from my dad. And I am the rock of my family. And a lot of people depend on me. And so although I want to take my cape off and be able to embrace my femininity and not have so many people lean on me, sometimes I'm not allowed to do so. And so I think it's important that we talk about not only how it feels to be someone's superwoman, but how we can better take care of ourselves and let others know that.
I saw a meme the other day where somebody said, if I'm that strong friend, I'm the one who's getting left out because nobody's checking on me. How many times do we find ourselves being that strong person, but because we're there for everybody else, we don't have nobody else to lean on. And a lot of times when we get that cake on and you're being that woman, that strong woman for somebody else, we go to bed at night and we have to cry into those pillows by ourselves. So completely understand what you're saying.
But also playing the role of a superwoman, you'll find yourself not even allowing people into that space to support you at times, because that means you have to show some sense of vulnerability or weakness. And as a nurturer, it's kind of hard to say I'm not your superwoman, because you want everybody around you to be safe and taken care of. And even though it weighs on you at times, you still want to be able to be that support. But then having that balance of allowing other people to support you as well is where the challenge comes in for me.
But my question is, how long do we have to endure being the superwoman for everyone else and not taking care of ourselves? I mean, the superwoman era dates back to slavery days. If you think about it, we not only had to take care, or our ancestors not only had to take care of their families, but they had to take care of the slave masters' families as well. And so they depended on us to not only breastfeed and nurture our kids, but also breastfeed and nurture and take care of their husbands and their families and children as well.
I think sometimes as we become women, I mean, it's almost like you take off your cap and gown at graduation and you go pick up your cape.
Yes.
Especially if you were raised by strong women, it almost becomes a badge of honor, because you've seen these strong women, you saw how they survived, maybe even thrived, and how they took care of you. So even in that, you want to give that back to them. And then if you have your own children, then you start to give it to your children. I think, again, it's about setting boundaries and creating a safe space to say, hey, I don't want to be superwoman today. And I think that's where that soft girl era thing comes into, where people are saying, hey, I'm tired. As a single mother, sometimes it weighs on me. It's like, hey, if you don't go to work and you don't pay the bills, who's going to pay them? And so you look for that time, that place and that space where you can say, okay, I'm ready to get into that soft girl era. And I know that looks differently for different people, but it's really, I think it's a cry of saying, I'm kind of ready to take this cape off. It's getting a little heavy. I wear it way too often.
I agree, Tanya. For people like you and I who are we're in fields that require us to be helpers, and we always have people leaning on us and looking for us for advice. That strong girl and that strong girl thing is even more daunting and heavy for us to carry, because I know in my field of law enforcement, I'm always looked at as the person to solve problems, the person that's supposed to have all the answers, and in therapy as well, I'm that person as well. So I sometimes don't know when to take those hats off and to be that soft girl and allow myself to be in that soft girl era, as people say.
I would say that I align with what Tanya was saying as well, as far as seeing women in a certain position your whole entire life. You come from this long generation of women who can do it all, and then women started to work. So not only did they raise an entire family, they went into the workforce and they did this, and then they embed in you that you can do better. You don't have to just raise a family. You can do whatever you want when it comes to careers or following a dream. So you can do all of that. And it does come from when your cap and gown comes off, because I think that superwoman, she transforms every time you go through a transformation in life. Absolutely. So you took more classes than you needed to take in college because you were going to finish early, because you had all these things lined up. And then you go out and you try to find a job, and you take that career on, and that becomes your life. And you're going to show them that you can do all these things, that you work harder than you need to, and you become someone's wife or someone's partner, and you take on even more. Then you may decide that you want children, and that is a totally different dynamic. And you just pull in all these different ways. So you're trying to figure out how I can attain all these goals and then still find time for me. And most of the time you're not going to be able to do that. Something has to take a back seat sometimes, and we have to be okay with doing that.
So Nicole, I know you have an older son, but you're a fairly new mom as well. You have a 1-year-old.
Yes.
How does the division of labor look like in your household with being a career woman and a mother? How does that division go with your husband as far as taking care of the kids?
I think that I'm starting to have a balance. Before it was a little difficult because it really ate at me that my career was going to take a backseat. And then I had another baby. And after I was able to get the 4-year-old in school, it's like I started all over again. So I'm like, what am I going to do? And eventually I had to come to terms with I can't do it all. So I have to find a way to make it work for myself. It might not be picturesque for somebody else, but it has to work for me. Mm-hmm. So I am now in a position where I'm finding balance. Even if that means that I'm working part-time and my baby is being cared for by a family member or something like that. But I have to find a balance that works for myself. And when it comes to my family, I do put them first, but I also make time for me. And I had to learn that. And when you have a baby, I'm a little older, so I have my children in my mid-30s, which it has always been just me. And then when I got married, it was just us for 8 years. And so that was a transition in itself. And I was trying to follow my grandma. She was strong. She was a strong woman. She raised all her kids and my grandfather. And then she went and had a career after her youngest, started going to pre-K, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to do the same thing. But her way is not necessarily the way I should do it or that works for me. So I had to figure out where it works for me. And so that's where I am now.
So that's, I hear the cliche work-life balance all the time. Mm-hmm. But how feasible is that for women who are mothers and caregivers and nurturers and the rock of our family? How feasible is it to have that work-life balance?
They made it look so easy. Mm-hmm. And I think it wasn't until I became an adult and actually had those conversations with my grandmother and my mom and even my older sister where they're like, hey, I was winging it too. There's no handbook to this life. There's no specific instructions to follow. We all have our own journey and our own paths to take. There are things that are going to pop up in our life that make us happy, that makes us sad, that knocks us off our feet. I was talking to a friend even just yesterday, like, I'm rolling with the punches because life will punch you in the face sometimes. But just trying to make sure that you're looking out for yourself. Because even if you are a nurturer, if you're always pouring into everyone else, who's pouring into you? Mm-hmm. And so I know for me, there's a couple things that at one point I just had to do for myself. Mm-hmm. As a mother, who my daughter's father's in her life, but we're in this home by ourselves, you don't always hear, I love you all the time. I can say it to my daughter, she'll say it back, but unless she really wants something, it's not always the first thing out of her mouth. So I started telling myself that. Mm-hmm. I look in the mirror, just so I can hear it. Sometimes it doesn't matter the voice, just for your brain to process that you are loved. So I can say to myself in the morning, I love you, Tanya. And I taught that to my daughter. We are big on affirmations in our home. Sometimes I slip up and she'll say, Mom, don't forget my card before you go to work. But just telling yourself sometimes that you love yourself, because if you can't love yourself, then you can't teach anybody else to love you. And I think that sometimes we forget ourselves. We want other people to see us and other people to make space for us, but we don't always do it for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a priority. So for me, it's on my calendar that Sunday is self-care Sunday. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do something that's specifically centered around me. Maybe a few things, maybe a little too much. But Sunday is definitely a day that's about me. I'm going to spend time with my child, but I have to do something for myself because I have to get through this next week. I have to be my best for my students or my clients or whomever I'm dealing with. Even my mother. We talk about how our parents are older. And me and my friends, we make jokes about raising your parents is so tough, because they don't listen and they know everything and they're trying to hold on to their independence as well. So that's another hat you pick up as you get older along the way that nobody prepares you for. Mm-hmm. But just making sure you set time for yourself, even if it's just a couple minutes. I have even started making sure that I get up in the morning, and even if I don't get on my exercise bike, I'm stretching for a certain amount of time. I read my devotional. It's just things you pull out for yourself, just for you in that intimate space in yourself. And sometimes I sit in the garage for a little while before I go in the house. You know, you just have to grab it where you can grab it.
And as you talk about pouring into others, I always tell my clients, we always talk about the proverbial cup, pouring into, you can't pour from an empty cup. Make sure your cup is full before you, I tell my clients, go even further. Don't even pour from a full cup. Pour from the overflow. Yes. If you don't have the overflow to give, then you should reserve the rest for yourself. Give of yourself when you are full, when you have exhausted all means of self-care and you're in a space where you can actually help other people.
Yes.
So a lot of times we are lending and trying to help people when we are still healing ourselves.
Yes.
And I think we need to learn how to lend ourselves grace and be able to say, I'm not in the place to support you at this time.
Absolutely.
And I think we're so afraid because we are held upon this higher standard as women and nurturers that we should always have it together, when we need to be able to lend ourselves grace and not, it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to say no and have boundaries and be able to let others know I'm not in a space where I can help you at this time because right now I'm working on myself.
I just wanted to touch on pathology as it relates to having to deal with all kinds of challenges in life and in family, in society, on the job, with being Superwoman. Like oftentimes I believe Tanya just mentioned, you know, our grandparents, our parents made it look so easy. But what we do also have to do with that pathology, you know, it's like we inherit those same traits, but with that pathology, we have to unlearn some things, right? Because, you know, my mom is a baby boomer. So going to talk to someone is foreign to her. My grandmother was born in 1928. So, you know, it was taboo to go, when she was in her 30s, when she was my age, that was the 1960s. It was taboo for African American women and men to go seek therapy, there wasn't a lane for that. And so we just have to be cognizant of how being Superwoman relates to pathology and how to unlearn some of those healthy traits, like holding it in, not knowing your internal boundaries, not knowing when enough is enough, not knowing when or how to have a cup to pour from. So I just, you know, that just really resonated with me when Tanya said they made it look so easy, because we try to emulate a lot of those characteristics, but we forget the unhealthy parts of it.
Absolutely.
That's so true. I saw a TikTok where this is a new trend where you see the woman and her child walks in the room and she's crying and she stops crying to tend to her child. And then when the child walks back out of the room, she continues to cry.
Yeah.
I think our children need to see that we're not Superwoman, that we're human and that we have emotions and we do break down. But more importantly, they need to see us picking ourselves back up and going on. So although I love to look at the TikTok trend, I really think we need to normalize being able to break down and have emotions and let our kids know that sometimes we're not okay.
To go along with, it wasn't the TikTok, but I've seen a woman crying and her children were in the room, and the comments were under there was like, how dare she's so selfish, because why would you cry in front of your children? And I'm like, well, how will they know how to regulate emotions if they don't know that things happen? I'm going to show my emotion. I'm not just here to tell you not to do this or that, or that I'm always happy. They need to see it's healthy to express themselves, and sometimes expressing yourself means that you need to cry. So I was horrified by the comments. I couldn't believe it. But to go along with that, I think sometimes social media puts a false narrative in place, and people really think they need to attain that. So it should be that I'm crying and then my child shows up and then I'm going to cut it out. That is not human. Like, a human doesn't react like that. Like, I can't turn it on and turn it off. I think there are a lot of unhealthy things that we see on social media, as far as we see these people shopping all the time. They can do all this this is what I spend in a day. This is what I do to keep my house clean. It's always what I do. And what people fail to realize is that it's curated. It may have taken this person all week to film that one 15-second, 20-second, 60-second video. And in your mind, like, oh, I want to do that. You're not going to be able to, because they're not telling you the truth. So we need to be okay with what we can do. If you want to do more, you set a goal and you add a little bit every time. But to see somebody else do something and think that you're going to emulate and is not an attainable goal is going to be very hard, and it's going to make you feel worse.
Absolutely.
I want to go back to what you all were saying about the thing on TikTok where the mother's crying and she stops when the child walks in. My son is 26. Like I said, he is probably one of my best friends. We talk all the time. And he brought I left Thomasville and I moved to Fairbanks, Alaska in 2009, the year that my mom passed away. I was running. So my sister said, you want to move to Alaska? I'm like, yeah. Come on, here, let's go. Me and my kids, we moved to Alaska. But I remember I was going through something, and my son's room was next to mine. And he told me this probably like a year or so ago. He was like, Mom, I remember hearing you in your room crying. Wow. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, what? He goes, Mom, I remember hearing you in your room crying. And he was like, I could tell that something was wrong, but I'm your child. I was a child back then. I didn't know what to do to help you. But now, he makes me cry. My son tells me stuff. I'm single. I've never been married. My son tells me, Mama, you're a good woman. My son tells me that you're a beautiful woman. My son tells me that you deserve everything that he wants to see me have. And I can share those tears with him now, and I'm not afraid of it. The simple fact that my son can see my worth and my value, I love that. And I know that comes from the upbringing. Like you said, we saw our mothers and our grandmothers be strong women. My mother's name was Big Mama. My children know my grandmother as Big Mama. The title just says it all. She was everything for that household. That's right. And I thank God I never had to pay for daycare because my mom and my daddy rotated their schedule so that they could. My kids can always have somebody to be there with them. So the role of Big Mama is something that we grew up with. And it's like, how do I be Big Mama to my children and to my grandchildren now that I'm a grandmother? And we take on these roles, and sometimes it's hard to be that Big Mama or that woman who we saw, who helped raise us or whatever. So
it's some big shoes to fill.
It is.
And learning what strength looks like. Vulnerability is strength.
It is.
A lot of people don't know that. My mother's 70 years old, and I'm seeing her now in the most vulnerable state as she was diagnosed with cancer last year. So having to kind of step up to the plate, like I said, with being the superwoman, it's almost like passing the baton to me. And so I try to be that rock for my mother, but it's a different space to see her in. But oftentimes I'm reminded that vulnerability is also a form of strength.
It is.
I think it's important that we teach our children different things about life. So we teach them to brush their teeth, how to take a shower, how to put their clothes on, and how to even put something in the microwave or cook. But we also have to teach them how to be an adult.
Yes.
My mom told me once, she said, you teach your daughter everything and you put her first, but you got to show her how to be a woman too. So yes, it's cool to say your kids dress nice and you're just going to wear whatever, but I still have to teach her how to be a woman. I can't just teach her how to be the age she is now. I have to prepare her for adult life. Like next year she will be graduating high school. So if y'all hear somebody crying all over Atlanta, it's me. And going off to college. And I'm hoping that I've taught her some things, because there has been moments she's had to watch me cry. I remember not too long ago, my grandmother passed away, and watching my mom and my aunts and my uncle and watching them cry, people who have poured into me my whole life. They were the strong people, you know, in my family that helped my mom and my dad raise me. And it's like, wait, they're like little kids now. And it's crazy because I'm like, why are they crying? That's my grandma. But to sit there and go, wait, she's lost her mom. I still have my mom. They lost their mother. That was like a really hard time, but at the same time, trying to deal with my own grief. And so my daughter was there trying to support all of us because she's like, wait a minute, my grandma's crying, my mom is crying, my great aunt is crying. It was confusing for her because she's always seen these people be strong, but at the same time, getting to see us also continue to live on and honor her legacy. I took a class in college. It was a death and dying class, and it said that we keep children from death. And I remember growing up, oh, you can't go to a funeral because you're too young. You got to stay here. You got to do that. And the professor said what it does is it does not prepare them for death, and death is inevitable. And so that's why as adults, when someone dies and you've never dealt with it, you don't know what to do with that. You don't know what to do with the anger, that grief, that sadness. And people really lose their minds in those moments because it's been hidden from them for so long. So I think it's different things that we have to teach them outside of the basics. And it's okay to let your kids see you cry, but they also need to see you get back up. And so that's, even when I allow her to see those vulnerable moments, I also let her see me get back up. And so watching her now as a pre-young adult, I can see that in her too, where she's like, okay, Mom, I need a minute. I don't want to talk about it, but I'll be good in a minute. And then she'll come when she's ready to talk and she's back to herself again. Even with her saying some days, I need a mental health day. Can I stay home today? And I think about, oh, I wish I could have said that to my mom in high school. I wish I could have said, Mom, I need a mental health day. I want to stay home. She might have looked at me like I was crazy, but
Get your butt on the You get out this house today.
Right. You ain't get mental health. That's right. So it's some days I'm like, you know what? Stay home for both of us, because I wish I could stay home too. But just giving her that avenue to know that she could come to me, she could talk to me, and that it's okay to, like you said, not be okay, but you can't live there. You can't stay there. I'm gonna give you a little time, but we got to get back up.
Well, as it relates to the younger generation, let's talk about this. We mentioned earlier the soft girl era and what it means to us, and I know we talked earlier, and it means something different to all of us.
Right.
So, Tony, what does soft girl era mean to you?
So when I thought of soft girl era, my thought was, they talk about a lot of, there's this alpha female thing going around as well. So it's like that, to me, that sounds like I'm not as outspoken. Not that I hide myself, but I don't have to be as outspoken. I'm allowed to just be a lady. So I think of maybe possibly getting in a relationship or getting married again, like, hey, okay, you take all of this, and I'm gonna be a lady. I'm gonna be a feminine woman, do what feminine women do. I don't have to wear all these hats anymore. You take this, and I'll be the cute girl. I'll be able to take care of myself, and of course I'm gonna take care of you in the home, but it's not all the other stuff that comes along with it, because I don't get to pick and choose what I deal with right now, but I'll get to be, focused on just being a girl.
Well, for me, my interpretation of the soft girl era was you pay somebody to do everything. I won't say everything, but you pay someone to do things that you don't want to do. And that could be a maid, having someone come clean your house. Now, I did see, and the reason it resonates to me is because I'm a quote unquote new mom, but there was a professional woman, and she had just had a baby, and she had a night nurse, and she did this whole soft girl era reel where she had this beautiful gown on, and she opens up the door and she's like, now I'm about to go lay. I just put my baby down, and his night nurse is in there, and I'm about to go lay down and take this nap or take my bubble bath or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's wonderful. Like, if I had access to a night nurse or whatever, I don't see anything wrong with it, right? But the comments were just eating her alive. Like, how dare you? Why would you want someone to take care of your child through the night? What's wrong with you? And in my mind, I'm thinking, no, that's the right idea. if she's a professional woman and she's doing these things, she needs her rest. How many times have women like had postpartum depression because they could not handle it? Having a newborn is a lot. It takes a lot out of you. And to not have the needed amount of rest just adds on to it. So I'm like, what's wrong with that part of the software area? I don't see anything wrong with it. You can afford to have somebody come and help. Why not? It don't necessarily have to be a night nurse, but it could be a maid. It could be someone going to detail your car. It could be they come pick up your laundry. It could be a lot of things that's on your plate that you don't necessarily have to do. That's what I think of software. That's what it means to me.
I believe it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
And we probably could go on forever. For me, I've worked in masculine, male-dominating positions in careers my whole life, from military to corrections to police. And I make a lot of decisions for a lot of different people. And for me, it's simple as being able to have the male figure in my life, my husband, make those decisions for me. I don't even want to decide what we're going to eat for dinner. If I come home and he asks me what we're eating for dinner, that's blasphemy. I want him to decide what we're eating for dinner. Better yet, already have it available. And if you don't have mine, that's fine. Just spend for yourself. Okay. That's soft for me.
I don't know. I'm still trying to embrace the. It's conflicting. Everybody have different ways of what they see as what's the software era. I hear what you're saying is a new mother, and you heard her say that she had a night nurse. Well, of course, my children are probably your age. I probably wouldn't have thought of that, but that would have been a good idea. And I feel like a lot of things that we look at as software era is really necessities.
Absolutely.
And I embrace that a little bit more, I guess, with COVID, definitely. So having groceries come to the house, to me, is a necessity. It's like I don't even really want to go to the grocery store anymore. But you have these convenience of things that back, I guess, in our early days when we grew up, those were luxuries and we didn't live in that type of era or household. So that's a luxury to us to have groceries delivered, take flights, do these things. But these are things that, who wants to drive anymore? Who wants, you see what I'm saying? So we sacrifice, and a lot of people look at that as software era. I guess I don't embrace that as software. I feel that as adulting and responsibilities, thinking smart. I look at it as, we wasn't as smart as that. It's not that expensive to get groceries delivered to you. Like, oh, you spend a lot. No, it's not. Now, Uber Eats and DoorDash do get a little bit more expensive, but things as,
Still
that's still luxury, but still like, we still got an epidemic out there. COVID, it's disease is still out there. So things are plain and safe. Now it's becoming our necessity when it comes to, like I said, delivery. You got people who come to your house and do things now.
The best thing to do to help combat what we call Superwoman syndrome in the therapy world is, first of all, prioritize self-care for yourself, and also being able to set boundaries. A lot of times we don't understand that setting boundaries is a part of self-care, and we have to be able to normalize telling people no and letting people know that we don't have the capacity to support them at this time. Also, some of the other things that we could do is, that cake gets very heavy. Take it off sometimes. Be able to let other people make decisions and step in and be that matriarch. I have several siblings, and even though we are all adults, I'm still looked at as the one who handles everything. And a lot of times what I have to do is pass that cake to someone else. And I say, hey, I'm not the only child here. You can also do the same thing that I can do as well.
Absolutely.
And so for me, that has been exhilarating, being able to allow myself the space to, first of all, say no, and allow myself to be able to set those boundaries. And I think we need to normalize setting boundaries and being able to take care of ourselves so we can put down that cape.
My thing, I am a kingdom's kid. I pray highly. At the end of the day, beginning of every morning, I make sure that I pray and I have communion and I talk to God and I give it to Him. That way it won't be so heavy on me. I'm also a part of a women's prayer group where we pray and we do Bible study Monday through Friday. I know that I release so much during that 7 a.m. hour because of that group. And that's something that God has allowed me to have in my life that's just for me. I don't have to share that with no family members if I don't want to. That is my time. And it's with a group of people that I chose to be with. So that is something that I found that helps to release some of that pressure that's on that cape.
Therapy has been very beneficial to me, for me rather. You can't always call your good girlfriend up and talk to her because she has things going on. Life is lifing for her as well. So I think the biggest thing for me, when my cape got really heavy, my anxiety started to show. And you think that you are handling it and you think that you are hiding it, but it shows up. So therapy has been my best friend with handling stress and being able to remove that cape. Going to someone who's non-biased, who's a professional, who's trying to give you tools to improve your life and help you deal as life lives.
Because it's gonna life.
It's gonna life. Yeah.
For me, I have found that journaling and planning has been the best. If I plan out my day or a week, it goes by a lot easier. Starting off with like a morning worship or a morning workout, listening to an audible book, maybe doing that before everybody gets up or you drop everybody off. Whenever you have time to yourself, just meditating, that seems to really help. But if I plan and be okay with the fact that I might not get through everything I planned out, but just the fact that I was able to sit down and actually make out a list of things that I want to do has really helped.
For me, I had to learn how to pencil myself in. And that includes taking my cape off and tucking that guilt under it. Because a lot of times when you're used to wearing a cape for everybody else, you forget to take care of yourself. And then when you do it, you have to feel guilty about it, about taking time for yourself. So for me, I like to craft. I love music. So putting in my earbuds is sometimes my safe place. Music is my therapy. I pray a lot. My sister and I have daily talk. She's my older sister. When I was younger, she was my second mother because there's a 10-year gap. So I don't often feel comfortable putting my burdens on other people, but she always gives me her shoulder. And sometimes she taps in and says, hey, it's my day. So having that balance of that, and it also allows me to show my daughter how to choose herself as well. So just making sure the guilt thing was a big part for me. Like just really feeling guilty about buying myself a pair of shoes, or I got it down pat now, so don't worry. But just choosing myself. So even if it's something as simple as, hey, I'm going to my room for a minute, me and my earbuds, and I'll see you in about 20-30 minutes, or going for a walk or whatever. So just penciling myself in and putting that guilt and cape aside.
For me, it's very, I didn't speak on no time to just anything about Superwoman because I've been at the door in my cape. Going through grief has been like the most difficult thing for me, and I'm still trying to. I learned early on that I wasn't Superwoman. I thought I was, and I wasn't. I had to learn said about your strength being weak, that was my biggest problem. Because like Sherry, like some of y'all was saying, you cry and you keep moving. That's good and bad. Because sometimes I think we built to say, my mom always said, your recovery time got to be quicker. This one time, my recovery time ain't been quick. And I want to cry, but that bothers me. But Sherry, you know, I'm always like trying to do something. And when I say depression really hit me, hardships hit me, everything that could have went wrong with the funeral, from burial to just still going through it. And like next month it'll be a year that he's been gone.
Oh, wow.
But it's still like the Superwoman thing been gone. I realized I was a Superwoman a long time ago. And that as far as I had to learn to ask other people for help.
Yeah.
Because like you said, a lot of you don't really want to keep your burdens to yourself. I am a peer support. So a lot of people talk to me one-on-one. But then I realized I didn't have nobody.
That's right. Yeah.
That everybody was coming to me. So those moments when, the darkest moments when I need somebody to talk to, I felt awkward because I always was the one who could solve everything. I had an answer. Or I wasn't perfect. I never made myself perfect, but I always sounded good. But in deep inside, I was what they say, a dressed up mess. And it really hit me. So in my therapy, it's weird, but I chose a sex therapist because I felt I couldn't tap into my femininity anymore. I didn't know what my soft girl was. I didn't know what it is anymore. I feel like I've lost it. And when we talk about toxic relationships and just trying to be strong and just be there for myself, I feel like my son transitioned, but I'm transitioning, and I'm forced. I'm forced.
Yeah.
Because it's like you say, you got to keep going. And there's days I don't want to keep going. Some days I'm just wanting to go, and I can't even describe it. You can't even move some days because life is getting better. Trust me. 3 months ago I probably would, and I still have my moments. But crying is good. I feel it's therapeutic and whatever, but when y'all said like the Superwoman Kate, I've been had to drop it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm weak in front of my children, and we talked. I hear a lot of things y'all say, and it hit me tonight. My daughter did say, I wish you just go move on. It hurts for them to even see me cry. It's hard to be their mother when you can't be Superwoman to say to them, when you don't know what to say to them because you hurting so much, and they hurting, but you can't take that pain from them. And then whereas they avoid me a lot because it's hard to have those conversations with me, and it's not like, oh, this child is better than this child. They miss them just as much as I do. Yeah. And it's hard to come to as a family to rejoice that when we each missing them in different parts. And when you have more than one children, it's real when they say it's a missing pieces. He was a middle child, so my heart, I breathe different. You see, when you say your son was your best friend, Mikey was mine. He was my mini-me. My daughter wasn't like me. He was my mini-me. And so when that's gone, I feel like my best friend has gone. And some days when I want something from one child, the other can't give it to me, that one was the one who gave it to me. So it's like I'm still learning that I wasn't Superwoman at all. That I just was, I wanted to be, but I realized I can't do everything. And that's what this really made me realize, that I can't do, I wasn't built to do everything.
That, and you was not built to do everything.
I'm accepting. Yes. It's okay. And that's hard when y'all say we're Superwomen, and we was taught that we had to be strong. And I can remember when the first 2 weeks, maybe the first month, I was just running on adrenaline. I had even really, I broke down, but
it's just this feeling and energy you have that you have to get everything done. You have to get everything done. It's like I had to take care of everybody during that period of time. And those moments when I needed people and the late nights and when you single, it doesn't work even better. You know, you in your thoughts by yourself. And that's what I had to deal with. So, but it also makes you stronger. And when we talk about relationships and stuff, I gotta add on to how it's made me stronger. But definitely the Superwoman cape, I've thrown away.
I want to share with you real quick. My younger brother passed away in 2017. He was actually murdered.
Oh wow!
And I remember you said that your daughter said something to you. What did you say? She said what?
She said all the time, she's like, just wish you get, you can move on.
This is what my daughters told me. For 3 weeks, I didn't go to work or nothing. I stayed in my room. I wailed. It was no tears. It was wailing. This pain that I felt was in my gut. Because he was my first baby. He was my little brother. So he was my first baby. My daughter came to me and she said, Mama, please. She said, please stop crying. And when she said those words to me, it was, I took a deep breath and I stopped crying. And they went to school. I called my supervisor, who was in the middle of the day. I said, I'm coming to work. And that was the only, I had to go like everything was okay in order for everything to be okay. Yeah, if I stayed in that house, child, would have been crazy.
And then you get that way. It's like everything they say about grief and stuff, I never would thought that, I experienced, like you said, the anger, all the different things. It comes and goes, and like, that's why,
But the thing is, there's two things in your life that I say make people uncomfortable. It's your faith and your grief. And that's what I found for myself, especially when my dad passed. I felt like half of me was just hollow and empty for a long time because a half of me was gone. When my grandmother passed, I was stuck. I'm still stuck, if I'm honest with you. Because that was my best friend. My grandmother would listen to my shenanigans and without any judgment or anything. And even when she had dementia and she didn't know who I was, sometimes we would have the best conversations. But I found that even in that, sometimes people can't handle your grief. It's hard for you, but it makes them uncomfortable too. As well as when you have big faith, or you have faith that something's going to be better, or something that no one else can see but you, it makes people uncomfortable. But the way you deal with either of those things is going to be different from everybody else's. So yes, you're going to have days where you're stuck. And there's going to be days you feel a surge and you feel like it's all going to be okay. And there's days you're riding down the road and your mind's not even on it. And then memory will hit you and you're crying, you'll keep going. But as long as you keep getting back up.
That's right.
It doesn't matter whether you're crying or laughing. As long as you keep getting back up, it's always an opportunity for it to get a little bit better and you to get a little bit stronger.
I got offended a little bit by what she said, my daughter. At the beginning, it kind of hit differently for her saying it. But then I have to look at it is that, Mom, I'm just like, it's more, not pathetic or petty, but I hate seeing you in this way. She can't fix it. And it's like, where I can sit and watch his videos and stuff, sometimes it's like, I gotta take her in consideration. It's okay, can you watch this? And they can get past of it. A little different. Everybody agree differently. I realize that sibling love is totally different than a parent love, or a parent losing a child, or you losing a parent. It's all. I've realized that community has grown for me. That everybody grieve a little differently on how they handle things. People's life and how you set up financially. It means a lot because there's some people who can just take trips. And that's their self-care, and that's how they take. Then you got some who have to pay for funerals. You ain't doing too much in between unless you got donations. So we even with our S.H.E moms, we had this support group, and we talked about this. by how everybody grieve differently afterwards, and that matters on your healing, your recovery. If you got to be superwoman automatically after you done lost a child and you done paid for a funeral, but you got to get, mine, she had to go back to work like a few days. Some people was like, oh, you're not gonna be able to go back to work, and I was like, yes, I could.
It is different.
It is different. No, I have not been back to a full-time job since he's died. It's not because I really can't. I would not be able to survive at a 9 to 5. So, I mean, I do my other stuff with my entrepreneur stuff, but it's not that I'm avoiding the job. It's just that I know I'm probably stronger now. But back then, when I thought I could do it, no. So everybody's cycle is different. And then you said another point. I was grieving before he died. I was grieving financially, emotionally, a lot of stuff I was already grieving. After Michael died, it just came full. So it hit me. Like God just told me, like, see?
You can't do it without him.
Be still.
See? And he's like, and I've been so still. This is the first time I don't even go nowhere. I forced myself to be here. I forced myself to come. I was ready to lay down in bed again. My daughter, you can tell me I was laying in the bed when I texted you. I was like getting up and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. But it's a struggle. But you have to find, like you said, you prayed. You just got to find your moments. And when you can do it. I'm still growing, trying to figure out what's self-care for me. I take care of so many other people. I do massages. I'm taking care. I don't even do those services for myself.
Right.
So I just got to learn, and like you say, surround yourself around different people. And
Well, we're glad you came.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
so glad you came. And the reason why Nicole and I chose the butterfly as a symbol for the year of She is because the butterfly's journey is beautiful at all stages. From the caterpillar to when the butterfly gets its wings. And we as women, we're at different stages in our lives. But it's not about where we are in those stages. It's about the journey to get to that butterfly, the journey to get those wings, to become that beautiful butterfly. We're all at different stages. And we just want to normalize not shining the light or looking at a woman down on another woman because they're not at the moment we are, or at the same stage that we are in the journey, because we can all take this journey together. And I'm so glad that each and every one of you came tonight and shared your stories with us. And I look forward to our next conversation about breaking chains, healing from toxicity in our families. And Nicole and I would like to thank you for joining us at the Year She. See you next time.